The Notorious B.I.G., better known as Biggie, well, he's got a few names just like Diddy. However, I wanted to talk about Juicy. That's one of his biggest hits off his Notorious B.I.G. album that came out in September of 1994. But before I give you this news, let me first tell you that Biggie is one of my favorite artists from the 90s. He's got a bunch of hits from Bone Thugs and Harmony with the song Bone and Biggie to the hit song Big Papa, which was a classic and everybody still probably plays it at parties. Now, if you're a hip-hop head like me, you might already be aware of this, but the song Juicy may or may not have been his original beat or his original song. But let me say, I'm not saying that Biggie stole anything. Biggie is a lyricist and he's got his own talents. But the way the story goes is that there was a rapper from Mississippi that goes by the name of Notorious B1. Now, he also had a track back in the day about that same time using some of the same sample, and that sample comes from Tmume from 1983, the original song Juicy Fruit. Side note, that's also a classic too. So anyway, the first possibility is that this Notorious B1, his song may have landed at Bad Boy. So before the internet, artists actually had to mail their CDs or tapes into the record companies to try to get a record deal, unless you knew somebody that can hand it to somebody. So it's possible that maybe Notorious B1, either him or his team or somebody that knows him, may have sent his tape into Bad Boy Records, and maybe Puff Daddy or his producers may have heard this song and kind of got the idea. Now, that's speculation. I'm not saying that's what happened. That's allegedly. So I encourage you to go check out Notorious B1. I'll put a link down in the comments so you can go check it out and let me know what you think. Does this sound similar to Biggie's Juicy? Do you think they have a similar flow? So let's move on to a second story that's kind of floating around the internet right now. If you guys are familiar with 90s Pete Rock and CL Smooth, they're also some of the greatest rappers from the 90s. But specifically Pete Rock, he's a producer. He produced a lot of songs in the 90s for different artists, and he's still producing today. Matter of fact, him and Common Sense actually have an album they just released together. But apparently Pete Rock originally produced the song Juicy. He goes on to say, and I quote, "I did the original version. Didn't get any credit for it. They came to my house, heard the beat on the drum machine. It's the same story. You come downstairs at my crib, you hear music. He heard that beat, and the next thing you know, it comes out. They had me do the remix, but I tell people, and I will fight to the end, that I did do the original of that. I'm not mad at anybody. I just want my correct credit."
I had this Tmume record, Juicy Fruit, and I was making the beat because I knew they were coming, but I didn't know that he would like that beat. Then when he got there, he was like, "Yo, who's that for? That's for you and CL." And I was like, "Nah, I didn't even get a chance to play him nothing else." Like, you know what I mean? I made that beat in front of Big. He was right there when I did that. Like the whole beat, from everything you hear in there. And he, after it was done, he was just like, "Wow, that's how you do it." Like, he was bugging out. Like, he couldn't believe it. Like, he didn't think that I made the beats with my own two hands until he seen it for himself. You know what I mean? And like, from a business standpoint, like, at that time I was a little wet behind the ears, so I didn't get the proper credit I should have got. But at the same time, I did do the remix, and I do tell people that the original belongs to me too. The whole idea, the whole thing.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, rest in peace, B.I.G.
Pete Rock, remember Pete Rock from CL Smooth? Pete Rock and CL Smooth? Back in 2003, 4, he said that he did that track. You understand? He said, it's an article came out way before when Pete Rock, I didn't know Pete Rock had something to do with it because I thought Trackmasters did it, Tone and Pope. You understand what I'm saying? So now, but Pete Rock said he was the one who first did it. He had did it for himself. Then they had a little disagreement, and Trackmaster said, no, they the one who did it. Because Puff came to them and said, yo, that Juicy beat would be a good song to remix and do. You understand what I'm saying? So now, if you know this to be true, and I said this before a long time ago, is that kids and people were sending their tracks and their songs into these labels. And I think Suge Knight even said the same shit. And they would jack their shit. So did Puff lead Trackmaster down that road and say, yo, use this beat? You understand what I'm saying? Or use this sound, make it sound like this? I don't know that to be true, but I don't put it past them.
So basically what Pete Rock is saying is that Puffy came to his crib, he went down in the basement in the lab, and they was listening to beats. Well, apparently one of those beats was the song Juicy that he actually produced prior to Puff Daddy and Bad Boy getting the song and putting Biggie out on that same track. So if this is the case, I do feel that Pete Rock is due some credit for that. He's not really tripping off of it. He just really wants his credit to say that he actually came up with that idea and that beat first. And it's funny how they asked him to do the remix to something they stole from him. I did see a small clip of Gene Deal kind of explaining about this. Let's check it out.
No, I don't even think he stole the song and the concept, and I'm gonna tell you why. Most artists, when they get tracks and everything, it comes from producers and people who makes the tracks, the people who produce the music. Now, somebody may have led him to flow, but Big was so fucking arrogant. He's not gonna listen to somebody else's music and then try to rap like them. You understand what I'm saying? The only time I ever seen him do that when he did Bone Thugs and Harmony. And he said, watch how I flip they shit on them. And he wouldn't even do it in the studio with them. I was there in California when that went down. So Big was so fucking arrogant that he wasn't gonna take somebody else's sound and their music, you understand, listen to it and say, yo, let me do it this way. Now, if you look at that track,
so in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. I think we should all actually give credit to the original artist on this song, and that's Tmume from 1983. He was the one that actually kind of came up with the actual beat and everything anyway. Most songs, or a lot of songs from the 90s, actually use samples from older, albums that came out decades before some of the songs that they produced. So family, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you think Notorious B.I.G. was the originator? Do you think Pete Rock was the originator of the beat? And do you pass it by Diddy to have stolen or lifted or borrowed this beat from Pete Rock? So drop it in the comments, let me know your thoughts. And before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and set your notifications for me, family. Peace.